As Anna suggested, we have myself and Adam Zach from our team. Adam's the good-looking guy on with the collared shirt. I get to wear a hoodie now that I'm working from home, so super excited about that. Um, and so today, I want this to be really interactive. Um, I see my video up here, so that's why you're gonna see my chin probably. But I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to feel comfortable asking questions. I'm gonna structure it in a way where I'll pause for questions and allow you guys to kind of have an idea as to where we are throughout. I'm a big fan of setting expectations, so let me just start with what this is going to be about, so you know what you're going to get out of it. So first and foremost, I'm going to give you just a 2-second overview of Talent Tech Labs, just so you know who we are and why you should listen to us. Why we're a credible source in the market. Second, I'm going to talk about the current state of talent acquisition technology and specifically dive into some trends. So some of the, I'd say, we're going to do 5 trends in talent acquisition technology. And last but not least, I'm going to land on what we believe the future state of talent acquisition technology is going to look like. And this is some of our newest, deepest thinking that we're going to share with you today. So really excited to share it. So without further ado, I'll just introduce myself again. This is pre-COVID. I've gotten the opportunity to eat at home, so I look nice and handsome in this picture. But quick background on myself. I'm a lawyer by education. I call myself an entrepreneur by trade. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Talent Tech Labs. And like I said, I'll tell you a bit more about that. And I get to call myself a professor thanks to Anna. She's included me in the, I teach entrepreneurship at NYU. So really excited about that. And, being able to work with young students and get them excited about entrepreneurship. So as I said, let me start with just a quick overview on Talent Tech Labs. We're on a mission to elevate the state of the art in recruitment technology. And we do that by helping both builders of talent acquisition technology and buyers of talent acquisition technology communicate. And so we're out in the market analyzing as many talent acquisition technology tools as we can get our hands on. To date, I've probably myself demoed north of 2,500. It's sad, but when you do, you get this unique perspective of the world, and it's like a unique data set that no one else has looked at. And so it's kind of interesting to be able to pull out some unique insights as you look through that data set. We analyze that information. We look at these companies for, competitive positioning, their funding status, an understanding of the founding team and their ability to execute. But really that only goes so far. We take it further by putting it in front of heads of talent and CEOs of staffing firms to find out really how these technologies perform in market. And we bring clarity to market by operationalizing our intelligence into research reports, which we deliver through a membership. And so what I'm going to do today is really share some of the interesting trends that we're finding in our research. So this is stuff that we really save for our members only, but we're sharing it with you today. Really, it's what I call the nuggets of wisdom from the research. So you don't have to waste your time reading, 70, 100-page reports. You can listen to me for 45 minutes, some of my corny jokes, and hopefully by the end, you'll know everything you need to know, or at least everything about this topic. So what you see here is what we call the talent acquisition technology ecosystem. This is one of our many pieces of research. We actually share this one publicly. You could download it on our website if you're interested in it. I've been to offices, they blow it up, 6 feet by 6 feet. And it shows all of the different features and functionality on the talent acquisition technology ecosystem. So if you go from left to right, you're going from sourcing a candidate all the way through hiring. So source, you'd have job boards and social search tools. Engage, you'd have CRMs and bots. Select, you'd have matching technology and assessment technologies. And then hire, you'd have your FMS, your freelance management system, your applicant tracking system, your vendor management system. This has about 325 of what we believe to be the innovative and influential talent acquisition technology tools. As I said, there's thousands more that we're tracking. But really, this is meant to show you how we've structured the information. And so I said we advise both builders and buyers. What we realized when we started Talent Tech Labs was that they speak very different languages. Builders talk features and functionality, and buyers talk business problems. And so what we needed to do is create a common language. And this is the common language. This taxonomy is the language that I'm going to speak through, with you throughout the rest of the conversation. And I'll define things as we go through them. But really, this is the frame through which we're going to have a conversation. And we can get into specifically some of the tools that we will actually get tactical into some of the tools that you can leverage today. So I'm not a big fan of the theoretical. I'm a big fan of the tactical. So we're going to get our hands dirty today, and you're going to walk away with some tools that you can leverage, right? This is an example of a really progressive organization that we work with. This is their tech stack. And if there's one takeaway you can get from this, is it's a big mess. I mean, look at this disaster of a mess. And this is a good, organized, progressive company, I promise you. I mean, they're leveraging freelance management systems. They're leveraging multiple agencies. They have a CRM. They have a recruitment marketing platform. They have a social search tool. They're leveraging employer branding and assessments. Like, this is a really progressive organization. And so, unfortunately today, which is the one question we always get asked, is what's the one system that we can use globally for our entire organization? And the answer is there isn't one. Like, it just doesn't exist. So you're going to have to use a number of point solutions to solve your problems. And so really today, my goal is to share, first and foremost, like I said, trends in talent acquisition technology. And then second, land on where those trends take us on the future tech stack. How are we going to get to the future? The way we're able to identify trends, which is why I like to introduce ourselves at the beginning and what Talent Tech Labs is all about. It's not about a sales pitch, right? For me, it's just about, hey, look, we're looking at all these companies, as many companies as we can get our hands on, and we're tracking them as they scale, fail, pivot, or as I joke, become staffing firms. Because if they run out of an opportunity, they just think they'll leverage their strategic differentiation and run a services business, right? And so we're tracking them as they move around the map. And so today, the trends that I'm going to share with you are all about, what we've seen over the last 7 years. So the way I break out the trend talk is 5 trends. First slide's always going to be the definition. This is the wisdom. I'm just going to break it down for you. The next is going to be the knowledge, and then we have the data. So let's start with the wisdom. The first trend is that there's a new platform emerging in recruitment marketing. And so what does that mean? Well, first and foremost, I'm sure many of you guys have heard of candidate relationship management systems. And so typically, let's say 5 years ago, candidate would come to your website. The only way you'd know about them is if they applied to a job. You get their personal identifiable information because they applied to a job and they came through your ATS. More recently, there have been CRMs, and CRMs have been all about collecting personally identifiable information from prospects or candidates before they apply to a job. So maybe they'll download a white paper. Maybe they'll express interest in joining a talent community. But that they allow you to collect personally identifiable information from candidates, and then allow you to track your engagement with those candidates over time and convert them hopefully into applicants and learn about them. And that's been like the last 3 years. I would have said like CRMs are a big thing, and frankly, CRMs in 2017 was about 22% adoption in the enterprise. They're now over 63% adoption in the enterprise. So large enterprise companies, and that's where our clients lean, are all leveraging, CRMs. What's interesting here, though, is we're actually seeing a new platform emerge. And by platform, I mean, there's all of the 34 bubbles you see on the ecosystem. They're not all platforms. Some of them are just point solutions, scheduling. Some of them might, just do video interviewing. But a true platform allows you to do more than just one little thing. And so we're seeing this new platform that we're calling a recruitment marketing platform. And essentially what that is it's going to be your career site builder. It's going to be a system of retargeting and remarketing. It's going to be a system of programmatic advertising. And so let's go through that journey again. Candidate comes, applies to your job, they're in your ATS. Check mark, you got their information. Next scenario is candidate comes, gives you some form of personally identifiable information. They get into your CRM because they weren't ready to apply to a job. Candidate now, third scenario is comes to your website, doesn't fill out anything. Who are they? do you know anything about them? Well, you didn't before, but now you can. Recruitment marketing platforms will allow you to track those candidates' behavior on your website and allow you to retarget, remarket, and follow those candidates around the web to get them to come back. And you can build behavioral profiles of those candidates, dynamically change the career site. And so, you know, the big question is, when are we going to see this? Can I buy one of these today? Well, the answer is you can buy one today, but it's like probably the most progressive tool out there. You're going to see these first within talent recruitment marketing agencies. So think about your Symphony Talent Group or TMP. So TMP has Talent Brew. That's a recruitment marketing platform. Symphony Talent bought Smashfly. That's their recruitment marketing platform. iSIMS bought, and I'm going to blow this one. I'm not going to remember. Oh, Jibe. There we go. It's on my screen. I can't screw that one up. iSIMS bought Jibe. That's their recruitment marketing platform. And so, you know, you're going to start to see first and foremost these being built in recruitment marketing agencies. And eventually over time, you're going to start to see third-party platforms built just to service this market. And really, it's going to allow you to capture every candidate that you spend money on, because you're not going to have a bucket for everything. The challenge today is that your CRM provider is going to tell you that they do recruitment marketing. And my kind of preachy, you know, point here is that they don't. Frankly, if you ask any single vendor on the ecosystem, if they either have a feature or functionality or not, you know, they're going to tell you they either have it or it's on their roadmap, and they're going to tell you that they integrate with every ATS, and they're all full of shit. You know, they're full of shit about the features. They're full of shit about whether they integrate. And so, you know, really the key here is your CRM provider is not going to be providing recruitment marketing functionality in the future. We believe you're going to see a separation, very distinct separation in the future. That's trend number one. I'm going to go through all the trends and then we can pause for some QA. Trend number two, actually, maybe I'll do one more trend and then we'll do QA since we have a small group here today. Trend number two, matching technologies getting better due to advances in artificial intelligence. Well, obviously can't have a trend talk and not talk about AI. That's what you guys are probably thinking about, is how can I leverage AI? Well, we went out to the market and we surveyed all the talent acquisition technology companies that we were talking to, and over 75% said they were using AI. Frankly, 5 years ago, every pitch deck that I looked at said big data. Now every pitch deck that I looked at says AI. And they can't possibly be. Why would, you know, all the AI people are going to go work for these 3 people startups in talent acquisition when they can make $500,000 at Google? Like, no way. So we dug deeper and we said, what type of AI are you using? And do you have an AI person on staff? And what does this all mean? And what we found out was, for the most part, folks were leveraging machine learning and natural language processing. They were not leveraging deep learning and leveraging neural networks. We then took a step further. What does this lend itself well to? And so we said, well, machine learning and natural language processing lend themselves well to prediction engines, matching, recommendation engines. So where are we going to see AI make its first and biggest impact in talent acquisition? It's going to be within matching. And so the real nugget of wisdom here is, if you want to leverage AI, don't think about like some chatbot that's going to have a conversation like a recruiter. Your lowest hanging fruit way to leverage AI is going to be by leveraging a matching technology. And so we believe matching technology is going to get better. What is a matching system? And matching, these are, you know, bubbles on the ecosystem. A matching system is a separate third-party platform that integrates with your applicant tracking system. It integrates with your CRM. It integrates with your bot. You know, Hired Score is an example. Ideal is an example. Your ATS is going to tell you they have matching. I promise you, it's not as good as some of these third-party technologies. Your resume parsing technology is going to tell you they're a matching technology. They're not. They're a resume parsing technology. And so there are now these matching technology companies that have made their way to market and that integrate with your applicant tracking system. We believe this is an area, you know, due for some growth. At 12% adoption in 2018, 15% in 19. We're running a survey right now. I expect that number is going to be closer. I'm making this up. I haven't looked at the data. It's not even done, in the 30s probably, but growing rapidly, because you know, we are hearing more and more about matching technology making its way into talent acquisition. One thing to keep in mind is that black box algorithms are not going to fly. So these have to be AI models that don't promote, that allow you to hire a diverse workforce and don't create issues in your funnel. I'm going to pause there for a second. Anyone have any questions? And actually, I think I could pull up the Q&A module if you guys want to ask them through that. If not, which it doesn't look like it's here here, chat. I have chat and I see, okay, you can ask questions through chat. Is LinkedIn also using some AI to match people to jobs? Himani, yes, they are using some AI to match people to jobs. Can LinkedIn's matching algorithm connect to your ATS? No, it's not a third party that you can integrate across all your systems. These matching technologies, would allow you to plug into all your different systems. But that's like the challenge is the job boards are going to tell you they have matching too, right? But like, are they really using deep matching? I mean, Adam might fight me on this one. He came from CareerBuilder, many years at CareerBuilder. And so, they use AI, but it's different in context. Anybody have any questions?
I do. When you said that you usually detect BS in some of the presentations, do you have a method by which you do that? How do you do your research to understand what's true, what's not? It's like
the #1 job qualification if you want to come work at Talent Tech Labs is a BS detector. First and foremost, I mean, when it comes specifically to AI, BS around AI, look, there are triggers you can use. I mean, look, we're not going into their code and assessing it to determine whether they're, really using AI. Do they have somebody employed on their staff? We leverage our clients who have done diligence on these technologies and what they have found. That data, we aggregate into our research. We allow our members to share with each other. So those are some of the ways. I mean, it's in a similar capacity. We're not getting an IO psychologist to look at every assessment technology and validate it. So, we're leveraging, markers and triggers in the market to help us understand which one's working, which one's not, why. And I could tell you the same assessment technology, and we're going to dive into assessments now. I've seen fail miserably by one IO psychologist and pass, successfully by another in 2 separate companies, so it's in some cases, it's very subjective.
We have a question from Andrew.
My question has to do with the recruiting and marketing interconnectivity. That's fascinating because it's the first time I've ever heard of this, and I don't think the 2 silos typically touch, especially in HR. With that being said,
I was listening to you.
Somebody in the background.
Oh, cool. No, I was like, what is it? Yeah. But it seems like even with the technology, right, the real benefit the technology comes when somebody visits the site and you're able to build that behavioral profile if you have their email or something else like that is able to create that user ID. But is it still limited, though, I assume, to passively gaining that information or acquiring that with regards to the person actually has to visit the site? Or is it actually kind of pushing it out, marketing on different social media platforms that really nets people in?
Yeah, both sides. And look, certain platforms have certain features, but both. Building behavioral profiles based on passive candidate behavior, but also actively seeking out candidates. And I'll talk a bit more about that and how that consolidation is happening when we get to the future tech stack. But we're seeing both.
Very cool. Thanks.
Jonathan, a couple more in the chat. First of all, from Shoshana, how do you see this map out across industries? Would you say that some industries are more advanced in adopting those technologies, especially on the predictive side, and as you describe them, and if you see differences across the globe, size, location? But I would add to this, like, do you see, like, for example, in China or Singapore, are they more advanced in terms of adoption for actual, different companies?
Yeah, great question, Shoshana. Thanks for asking that. So first of all, I would say the US market, we found to be the most progressive in terms of talent acquisition technology adoption. In terms of sector, technology companies have an easier time adopting technology than, for example, banks. Their procurement is much more difficult to get through. But I mean, we work with Bank of America, Bank of Montreal, Scotiabank, very progressive organizations. And in some cases, when they can't get a piece of technology through, they leverage their RPO to get the technology into their RPO, and then they use the technology through their RPO. And so there are ways in companies that have trouble getting technology adopted to get technology adopted by, for example, putting it into your RPO.
Also,
And-
that the staffing firms are very progressive. So staffing agencies are usually the first movers on a lot of these technologies because it directly relates to their revenue. The faster they get, these people before corporations, the quicker that they're going to be able to drive, the bottom line. And then second behind that is like consulting firms, which is very similar to staffing agencies where the people directly drive the revenue, having those consultants in place.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and I see another question from Giannis. Giannis, so can the BS detection, I'll read it to anyone who's not looking at the chat. Can the BS detection work in reverse? For example, to help job candidates tell bona fide job announcements from info phishing bait ads. So the question really is, first of all, let me give you guys a thesis that Talent Tech Labs has. We believe that there's going to be rapid transparency in the world, which means candidates are going to know everything about companies that's possible to know, and companies are going to know everything about candidates that's possible to know. We share a lot of publicly available information online. We interact and engage with companies and websites in various different ways. And similarly, companies, like their culture, the way they treat their employees, through websites like Glassdoor, that's all going to be publicly available information. And so in a world where information is publicly available, the people that try to put out bait and switch, they're going to get caught. And frankly, I think that the key to winning, building the recruitment function of the future, is going to be engaging candidates more effectively than your competitor. And so our thesis is not that technology is going to disintermediate recruitment, or that technology is going to take over. Actually, we believe it's going to be a combination of tech and touch. We believe that you're going to need the technology to compute, and you're going to need the people to engage. And so technology is just going to allow people to engage in a more meaningful way.
That's a great answer. More technical question from Andrew here. Are these typically offered as a SaaS with low upfront costs that scale with growth?
So, depending on what technology and what segment of talent acquisition, for the most part, it's all SaaS. And in some, depending on the business and the market they serve, some start out freemium and move up to, scale up as you grow. It really depends on the business. This is obviously information that we're tracking as an organization. Why don't I dive deeper into a couple more trends, get you guys, your brains spinning a little bit more. So trend number 3, I'm glad I still remember how to count. There we go. Trend number 3 is we're seeing significant consolidation in the assessment category. And so 3 years ago, I would have told you, assessments are being used for early career hires more than they were before. But really now what we're seeing is consolidation. Organizations don't want to have 20 different assessment partnerships. They want to work with fewer vendors. We break assessments into skill-based assessments, behavioral-based assessments, simulation-based assessments. Skill-based is simple. Why ask someone if they know JavaScript when you can actually test them on it? Behavioral-based, let's find out people's propensity to develop skills. These used to be called culture fit tools. That was what we called them. But what we found is that organizations don't understand their own culture enough to be able to hire for culture fit. And, frankly, it was creating this, it was creating bias, in organizations. And so many of these technologies, because they had trouble selling in that way, became what we call behavioral-based assessments. And now it's all about propensity to develop skills. And then simulation-based assessments is putting someone through a simulation. Similar to the job we leverage these at Talent Tech Labs when we hire folks, is simulating what a day in the life of account manager might be, of a salesperson might be, of an analyst might be. What we're seeing also is, this is, you know, assessments aren't new. They've been around for years. You know, over 50% adoption in the enterprise, but they're digital, they're mobile, they're gamified, so they're easier to collect more data from less time. So where you used to have to sit through a 45-minute test, you can now sit through a 15-minute test. We're tracking your eye movements, your facial tics, your you know, the amount of clicks you do, where you're moving your mouse on the screen, thousands and thousands of data points as you take these exams. You know, what's also interesting, you know, is, you know, depending on the company, assessments become challenging to bring into the organization because legal gets scared, especially if it's used for a go or no-go decision. And so if you just leverage it as another data point in the stack, just another data point to help you make a decision on a candidate, you know, the companies don't get, you know, as sensitive. You've seen a significant amount of consolidation. As I said, it's starting. HireVue bought Mindex. They're out shopping for more. And I'm sure there's a deal on the horizon there. Montage bought Shaker. Capfinity bought Koru. SHL, Aspiring Minds, and Hired Pie. And I promise you, you're going to hear more and more of that happening. Especially now, the pandemic has accelerated consolidation in this space. Trend number 4, bots are evolving into 2 distinct solutions. Again, we spoke about AI, how to talk about bots. And so what do we mean here? Well, first of all, we already established together that you're not going to have bots that communicate like humans. For the most part, these are going to be intelligent workflows. And so we're seeing 2 different types of bots. We're seeing conversational bots. And yeah, today they're intelligent workflows. Tomorrow, hopefully, they're artificially intelligent workflows. We break bots into 3 categories: chat, voice, and video. Chat generally sits pre-apply. So it's a chat bot. You have a conversation with, maybe you apply through the chat bot. Voice generally sits post-apply. You apply to a job, you get a call from a bot. Hey, tell me more about yourself. You know, here are the questions I want to know. You know, can you lift 10 pounds? You know, have you ever worked in a warehouse before, et cetera? And then video bots, really, I'm mentioning it, it's more a gimmick. I'm mentioning it so you know not to use it. No need to use it. And that's just as important, so you don't waste your time. And that's kind of what we're here for. But really, so we're seeing bots break into conversational AI, conversational bots, and then RPA, recruitment process automation. What does that mean? Well, if a bot is the medium of communication, the medium through which you're communicating with all the different systems within talent acquisition. So the bot says, hey, Catherine, thanks for applying, you know, to the job. Can you now take a video interview? You know, oh, now that you took a video interview, we want to run a background check on you. Can you give us your information? As the medium of communication and integrating into these different systems, or through emulation, getting data out of the different talent acquisition systems, these bots are able to run processes on top of the data and create basically an automated workflow. So automate some of the tasks that a recruiter has. And so bots are splitting into these 2 categories. If you look at the ecosystem with all the bubbles that I shared at the beginning, we actually don't have an RPA category. The ecosystem is getting updated in August, hopefully released to the public in September. If we can get our team together and focused on this, it's been crazy, I'm sure, just like with all of you guys, with everyone working virtually and remotely. But there will be a category, I can promise you, for RPA, because we're seeing it happen. As I said, RPA is all about taking data through emulation or integration, running processes on top of it, and then putting it back into a separate system. And so ultimately, over time, you're going to have these 2 separate categories. There's been significant capital invested in this space. Just if you look at the 2 RPA companies alone, you know, over $1 billion. But you're seeing talent acquisition focused tools, Alio, Eightfold, Maya get into the space as well. Last but not least, as far as trends go, and I'm glad I'm looking at my clock here, we still have time to talk about the future tech stack, because that, to me, is the most exciting, is trend number 5. And this is that there's a new category of talent. And I see question come in, Giannis, is there a limit to how deep into someone's privacy a bot would be allowed to dig? Can candidates avoid being blackmailed into giving private information? I mean, yeah. First of all, every company sets their own limitations on what the bots are allowed to do. And it's what that company feels comfortable with. there are many challenges that come with adopting new technologies. In particular, the security of data, and so these companies all take that very seriously. But no, I mean, you just don't have to answer the bot. I mean, it's likely today that you're not going to only have one option, which is the bot to apply. It's likely that's one of many ways that you can engage with a company. And I believe that will be the way of the future. The bot's just giving the organization another set of hands when someone's not at their desk to be able to communicate with you. So I'll get back to this last trend and then I'll dive into some more questions. Thank you, you're welcome. So last trend is a new category of talent demands a new service model. So what do I mean here? Well, again, got to talk about gig workers, right? Especially now during Corona, during the pandemic, everyone thinking about, okay, everyone's working from home, remote work. What does this mean? Look, I'm not in the business of telling you whether remote work is going to be a more effective way to work. Frankly, certain things about it I think are crazy. But I can tell you that the folks that are in the business of talking about it say that it's growing significantly. The organizations that we talk to tell us that they want to leverage remote work more and more. So what I am in the business of telling you is the technology you need to leverage to hire remote talent. And so if you want to engage with gig workers, it's our opinion that your applicant tracking system is not going to cut it. Your vendor management system is not going to cut it. You're going to need what we call a freelance management system to be able to engage with and hire gig workers. And so I can promise you that folks within your organization in some business unit, I don't know how big the companies you guys all work for are, but even small companies leverage Upwork, Fiverr, TopTal to within, marketing, for example, to get a logo made or a deck designed or maybe a video created. I personally love Fiverr. I've used it for a number of things throughout the years. And the challenge here is, first of all, there's a lot of interesting trends happening in this space. So first of all, like I said, these systems need a way to plug into the enterprise. I'm going to take 6 steps back though. Upwork came to market saying, basically get access to overseas talent, leverage price arbitrage, get access to people in India, and it started with low skilled labor. They moved to the US, they started with higher skilled labor. But for the most part, they've been focusing on small to medium-sized business. The challenge is that the cost to acquire a new small to medium-sized business costs more than the lifetime value they're getting out of these customers. So I used the system once as a small to medium-sized business. It costs Upwork more than that to acquire me. They don't make enough money on me. And so they have to, in order to stay alive, they have to move into the enterprise. And so they're all starting to think about how do we plug into the enterprise. So they're building what we call freelance management systems. And similar to how in recruitment marketing, you have recruitment marketing platforms that live within recruitment marketing agencies, and then you have third-party platforms. Same thing here. You're going to have the temp labor marketplaces themselves building freelance management systems. So Upwork's going to allow you to plug. You're going to have these video interview. These platforms connect into your basically either directly into your ATS or separately, directly into your recruitment marketing function. Like I said, these temp labor marketplaces are building freelance management systems. The freelance management systems are coming to market. This is going to be how you're going to leverage gig workers moving forward. I don't believe that Upwork, Fiverr, these companies will last if they don't figure out how to work with the enterprise. There's, massive growth in this market. Again, similar to matching, we see these companies are have about 5% penetration in the enterprise and slowly going to move up. Really progressive organizations that we work with are starting to figure out how to leverage freelance management systems to, scale. Bias. So Tom said a topic in many of our classes is bias. It's easy to see how this can support reducing bias. Are there any elements built into this technology to provide intelligent suggestions when bias creeps into the process? So first and foremost is we don't have bias is not like its own category of the ecosystem, because the ecosystem is broken down by features and functionality and revenue models. Many of these different technologies have features to eliminate bias. And so first and foremost, some of the AI models have AI that's running on top of the models to make sure there's no bias going on there. There are technologies that basically we would call diversity technologies that, for example, will allow you to track your interview process and look for bias throughout the interview process, really allow you to pay attention to, create basically dashboards to allow your organization to see, for example, if you're hitting your diversity goals, because you can't like incentivize a hiring manager to hire diverse talent, but you can basically socially embarrass them if they're not. Create like these dashboards that leverage social proof to show the organization who's hiring diverse talent and who's not. But I agree that bias is an issue that makes its way into the process. There's also technology that allows you to hide gaps in employment, allows you to hide names from resumes. These things in some cases are features built into your applicant tracking system. These things are third-party technologies that sit on top of your applicant tracking system. So there's a number of different tools out there.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, I think we're ready for today's landscape.
All right, so the future of talent acquisition technology. So let's talk about today's landscape. So first of all, point solutions are bringing innovation to market. We discussed that. Lots of point solutions. We discussed the emerging M&A trends. So consolidation around the horizon. We're starting to, the pandemic has really increased consolidation because there are many companies that are going to go out of business. And then we also, something we haven't spoken about, but that we're seeing is that your HRIS, the system of record you use for when someone is an employee, they're not really, they're going to tell you they're driving innovation in TA, but they're not really driving innovation in TA. Like Workday's TA module is a module. It's not a TA platform. It doesn't integrate with all the point solutions. And so, they're really not driving innovation fast enough. And I know your CHRO, your CTO is going to say, well, we want one system. We use Oracle. We want Oracle for everything. We want, Workday for everything, but I can promise you that, it's our belief as an organization that talent acquisition needs its own tech stack. Talent acquisition deserves its own tech stack. You want to leverage all those point solutions. That's what it's going to take to hire the best talent. That's what it's going to take to differentiate yourself. And so, we really truly believe that your HRIS is not going to give that to you. We also believe that candidate experience is important. And your HRIS is not built with candidates in mind. It's built with recruiters in mind. So just another data point. And we call the future candidate friendly, recruiter efficient, and data driven. So this is what the ecosystem from 5 years ago, from 5 years from now is going to look like. The ecosystem is not going to have 34 bubbles. It's going to have 5. This is not a pretty graphic because we haven't had, that image you're looking at 7 years of battle-proof tested, people telling us that category doesn't make sense. Right now it's kind of in a good place. This is something that we're really working on. It's cutting edge stuff. But really what you're seeing here is you're going to have, we believe, 3 main systems of engagement. First, you're going to have your tracking system, which is your applicant tracking, your vendor management, and your freelance management. So that means that you're going to have all of that in one system. So we're going to see consolidation there. So that means full-time labor tracking. That means contingent labor through staffing firms tracking. And that means gig workers tracking, all in one system, which can allow you to do what's called total talent management. You can be able to identify, do I want someone full-time for this role? Do I want someone part-time for this role? Do I want to use a gig worker? Next is going to be your system of engagement. So we said, you only get into your tracking system if you apply to a job. System of engagement is going to be your CRM. This is going to be your bot. This is going to be your social search tool. Social search tools go out to the web. They scan publicly available information about you. They build profiles, and they allow those profiles to be searchable by organizations. So we all put lots of publicly available information out on the web, and it's searchable. And so this is your system of engagement. And as I said, there's going to be a third system that's evolving called this marketing system, recruitment marketing system, recruitment marketing platform. Again, still haven't nailed the title. And that's going to be for career site builders, retargeting, remarketing, programmatic advertising. Okay. On top here, you see automation analytics. That's going to be your RPA, recruitment process automation. So now through emulation, you're going to be able to take data from the tracking system, from the engagement system, from the marketing system into this automation analytics layer. And data, they're going to be able to compute the data, run processes on the data, and then pump it back into another system. And because it's connecting into all the point solutions and taking all that data, it's going to be the system where you're going to see dashboards and data is going to be displayed. And then last is this talent assessment layer, where you're going to have video interviewing, background checks, skill-based assessments, behavioral-based assessments, simulation-based assessments, matching technology. This cuts across the entire stack. You use at the beginning, maybe you'll use a matching technology to identify, is this a candidate that based on their behaviors on their website that we should target. Then in your CRM, you might leverage, a game-based assessment. Then in your applicant tracking system, you might leverage a background check. Why does all this matter? I want to show you, well, if you're in the market to buy an applicant tracking system, well, let's buy a more progressive applicant tracking system. Avature, for example, has FMS, VMS, and ATS built in. Greenhouse has those things built in. Some of the others are thinking about it, right? So, if you're buying a CRM, understand the difference between a CRM and a recruitment marketing platform. CRM is going to show you all the shiny things that it does. And they're going to use some of the shiny things from recruitment marketing to tell you that they have it. But I'm telling you that if you want best in class, these are two separate systems. So really got to think about them separately. Automation and analytics, this is new. I don't even think you're going to find a really sophisticated one today, especially one that can connect with all the point solutions in the stack. I don't think you'll see one for another 2 years. And then a talent assessment layer, again, I don't think you're going to see this for another 2 years. So you still have time. So this is really a guide to kind of help you make a buying decision now, so that you can set yourself up for success in the future. I see some questions here. I just want to go to one more slide and then we could dive into the questions. So first of all, we decided the current state remains highly inefficient, so there's lots of room for growth. I think I've tried to articulate to you that the building blocks of the future are taking shape. And like I said, we want the taxonomy to become candidate friendly, recruiter efficient, and data driven. But I want to make the argument that we can work together. We believe your user input, folks that are in the business, on the ground, can help shape the future. And so we want to partner with you to help you shape the future of talent acquisition. And like I said, word for the wise, fight as hard as you can against your CHRO. Don't wait for your legacy providers to solve the problems for you. You saw how many point solutions there were to the left of your talent management system. Like if you think that your talent management system's recruitment module is going to do all that for you, today, definitely not. In 5 years, I'd still be surprised. Like there's still a lot of room for growth, right? So lots of nuggets there for you to think about. I'm going to pause and go to some of the questions here. Let me go to, Thomas says, HRIS and HCM lean heavily on business process configuration. How do we decide when it's advantageous to begin developing RPA to supplement business process? The fear is that a lot of time and resources is put into development that might later be replaced by a configurable process. So really good question, Thomas. Really, really good question. So first of all, there's another layer here that you didn't mention, which is, is there a future where through integration, these systems will all integrate with each other so efficiently that you won't even need to, and the systems themselves will be doing the things that your recruiters are doing. They can run the processes inside of them. Is there a world where that's going to happen? I would argue that there won't be. I would argue that recruitment process automation is not just a means to an end. It's an opportunity for you to, on top of somewhat static technology platforms, build your own processes, optimize those processes leveraging technology, and then automate them through the use of one of these recruitment process automation technologies. Definitely a lot of time and resources goes into development, but I would argue that these recruitment process automation tools, you don't even need a developer to use in some cases. These days, you're able to program them without a lot, a big, full-on consulting agreement. So, definitely think that RPA is something to look into. It's a hot trend right now that we're seeing. Hamani said, do you see any trends of role of recruiters decreasing or might not exist in the future with automation, AI, direct hiring managers taking over? Great question. Again, our thesis is that talent acquisition is going to be tech and touch. I believe that recruiters will still exist, but their role will change. They'll be focused more on engaging with candidates and less on the tactical, put this data here, make sure you did this, all that's going to be automated. It's really going to be about building a relationship with the candidate or prospect and engaging that person with your brand, with your organization, and building that relationship. You know, maybe certain parts of sourcing might be automated. I still think that hiring managers are going to need talent acquisition to get the job done. Hiring managers just don't have the time and they're just, technology is not at a place yet where you could just assess every candidate and say this is, you know, the perfect fit for your organization, and at the same time sell the candidate on the role in the company and convince them and get all the paperwork sorted out. Like, there's too many pieces. So I don't think that will happen anytime soon.
Jonathan, there's one question from Yanis again. He's been very active on this on these webinars for us, and it's about transparency of the code behind the selection platforms.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think that black box algorithms are just not going to be able to exist in the future. You're going to have an open, you're going to have to share the information about how your algorithm works. And so I would argue that a few of the companies would allow you to have their code externally assessed for bias. In particular, like HireScore would do that. They're very sensitive to that. You know, some won't, but I think they're going to have to. The black box algorithms just aren't going to work anymore.
Yeah, the last question is about sort of the future of HR profession. Should they be specialists or generalists? You know, should people be like focused on recruitment, or you kind of become human resource professional in general?
2-second overview on that is, I believe that there will be specialists still. See, I have a vision for the future of talent acquisition. And my vision is that, see, I believe that a company's job is going to be more than just about paying you in the future. A company can't just say, okay, I'm going to pay you for you to do this work. A company's job is going to have to be more about being like your guide through the world. Not only am I going to pay you for this job, but I'm going to help you with, you know, upskilling yourself to get to the next level in your career. I'm going to help you by helping, you know, giving you these benefits, for your physical well-being, for your emotional well-being, for your family. Like, I think that it's going to get very competitive for talent. Talent's going to be, you know, really good talent. Like I said, it's going to be very transparent with the world. Candidates are going to know everything about companies. Companies are going to know everything about candidates. What's going to differentiate you is what you're going to provide to that candidate to make their life better. And so I think the role of talent management, the role of talent acquisition is still going to be needed. First of all, there's still selling involved in convincing me to come join your company. And then once you have me, there's still now going to be all about like helping guide me through life. You're going to be like my partner guiding me through life. I mean, I give you an alternative universe. There's an alternative universe where companies, just like they didn't care about real estate anymore and they outsourced it to WeWork. There's an alternative universe where they say, we don't care about our employees anymore. Not our employees like that. We don't care to have them on full-time payroll. We care about owning our customers, our product, and we want to rent our people. And so there's a world where they give the ownership of their people to a third party, like a staffing agency. But in that world, I would argue the same thing about the staffing agency. You want to hold on to this person? The key is going to be being able to make this person's life better. More than just getting them paid for a job, it's giving them, you know, and maybe I'm crazy, but this is the world that I think that should exist. And I think companies should be more helpful than just paying you for what you do for them. I try to do this with my own organization. I mean, everyone that works at Talentic Labs, we're always talking to them about, what are your goals? Where do you want to go? How can we help you get there? You know, are you enjoying what you're doing? You know, what extracurriculars can we give you the flexibility to work on? So that's my vision.
Fantastic. I think we don't have any more time for any questions, but it's a good lead into the next series that Stella and I are thinking about. But for right now, do go to the Slack channel. This was so rich in information. Thank you so much, Jonathan.